I've only got one life. I don't want to look back on it and think, oh, I didn't try, I didn't do all these things. I don't want to think, well, I give it my best shot. I thought, I just need to trust myself more. When people go, yeah, but you're the big boss, I think, oh my God, no, I'm just like an ordinary person, please. But that is the reality for a lot of people.
I truly believe that we have a responsibility to share and not gatekeep what it's like being in management.
Yes. We've got a big job to do, and I think people just think you are not a person.
What a career. From Kurt Geiger
I know.
to where you are now.
I always laugh that I don't know how I've ended up in a scientific business.
With a history degree.
With a history degree. Never interested in science whatsoever.
I don't think I've shared this with you before, but it really works for me. So welcome to the Leading Role podcast. I'm your host, Liz Finneran. I'm a life and leadership coach, and I support leaders at all levels. So no matter what industry you're in, whether you're just starting out as a manager or you are a director, a business owner, I support you in your career if you're feeling lost and you're looking for direction and new skills. This podcast is about you meeting real managers and them sharing with you their career highs and lows. And so you get to see behind the scenes from real life people. I'm going to be asking them questions about how they manage their day, how they manage stress, what they're looking for the next person in their succession planning. I would love for you to subscribe and like this podcast. So I'm delighted to introduce my next guest, Laura Cartwright. She is the commercial director of Una House. So welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh no, excited to have you here. So let's just jump straight in. So you're the commercial director. Mm-hmm. It's this company based in Stoke-on-Trent.
That's right. Yeah, in Tunstall. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. But what I want to know is, what was your first role before and let's see how you got to be where did you start?
I feel like you're going to make hay with this. My first job was actually at Kurt Geiger. I came out of university. I'd done a history degree. Don't ask me why. I just needed a job.
Yeah.
I wasn't really thinking career at all. I just needed a job. Didn't know what I wanted to do. So I went to work for Kurt Geiger. And I was only part-time, but I could not have cared less about that job.
Oh, come on, tell us more about that. What do you mean?
I just mean in that I was a classic kind of just left university, young person, I just tried to get out of like as many of the different jobs. I loved the discount. But I still couldn't afford it because it was like 30% off, and like Kurt Geiger, she was like £100
quid, yeah.
And I look back and think my manager must have hated me because she had a real serious job. And I didn't. I'd say about sort of 10 months. So I did stick out a little bit.
Yeah.
The kind of final nail, well, not the nail in the coffin. I do look back and think, actually, this is probably not very good. But I had quite bad... I used to get bad tonsillitis when I was young, and I actually had glandular fever, and I was really poorly, and I had about 2 weeks off because you know how it is. I literally couldn't get out of bed, and then they were like, yeah, we don't want you to come back, which is probably not allowed, really.
No.
But it was a good thing for me because it put me in a position where then I had to be like, what am I going to do? And again, like at that time, my mum was working in a diagnostics company, a distributor, very much like where I work now, called Biostat. And I went in there in the most bottom rung job, literally the bottom of the pile. I was processing orders. That was all I was doing all day, every day. And I wouldn't say I approached it like I did Kurt, because obviously working where my mum was, I didn't want to let her down. But I hated that job. Like, I hated it. But that's good motivation, it turns out, because I didn't want to stay in that job.
Right.
And I made a lot of like relationships, and because I'm curious and interested in things, I just started talking to people in the rest of the business, and I was interested in things. So I sort of moved around a lot at Biostat. So I went over to work on technical in an admin role. So obviously I'm not scientific. I have no scientific background whatsoever, but I wasn't doing any of the technical responses, just to clear that up for anybody. I was doing all the admin.
Yeah.
And then a lot in life, I think, is about opportunity. So the team leader on the technical help desk broke her wrist in a skiing accident, and she couldn't be in for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And so they stepped a few people up to like cover this, and they had like they needed more support, so I did it because I was like, I'll do it. And I was doing very, very basic things. So again, not anything really, but just really, really basic, answering the phone and scheduling the engineers. And I was just getting more of a feel for the business by doing this. And then I started to talk and have more connection with the commercial team, because the commercial team is obviously quite linked to the technical team. So they were looking for someone to do like a bit of kind of marketing and some telesales stuff in the business. So this was sort of a new role. So I was like, well, I will do it. I want to. And I was starting to get kind of the twitch, I guess, of being a little bit more ambitious. Like I want to do more with, and I was enjoying it. And I was thinking, actually, this is more interesting than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
So I went over and did sort of the technically telesales role for a bit. I probably did that for about 6 months. And then they were like, we want someone to work in marketing. So I thought, marketing sounds like fun. So I went over and worked on the marketing team, the women's health. And it was cardiovascular marketing. So I was learning all about things like chronic heart failure and the tests that we had for that and different things as part of that. And we brought some new products in. So they had this thing where all the marketing team were going to Switzerland for a week. So I got to go and do that, which is incredible.
Nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I ate a lot of cheese.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that don't eat a lot of cheese fondue, because then then goes cold again, like the stomach ache is ridiculous. Anyway,
you don't think these things, do you? Okay.
But it was, and I was in my mid-20s. I had never done anything like this. Like, this was incredible for me. And this was a little bit, I would say, of like me starting to realise that like I had a little bit of potential here, and I enjoyed it, and I could pick up like the gist of what the products were doing and the point of them and the impact the products would make in healthcare. So I was like, this is quite interesting. And it was very much on the clinical side. So it was more about the patient, which I found really interesting in comparison to kind of the lab stuff, which is more technical. And so I've been in the marketing role about a year. And then they said, well, we're starting a new women's health team from absolutely the ground up. And we're looking for reps. So that's what, like, my mum had always done. I knew what it was, knew what it had to take.
And that means going out and about.
Going out and about. So you'll have a territory, you'll get a car, wow. You'll go out, you meet customers, and you'll be responsible for these new products.
And how old were you then?
I was like mid to late 20s.
Right.
So it was before the birth of my first son. I had him when I was 28. So I had been in the role about a year and a half before I went on maternity leave. So I was basically going everywhere, all over my territory. It was quite a big territory, and we had quite a lot of success, and it was really exciting. Interestingly, at the beginning of that job, like a couple of months in, line manager sat me down and she was like, you are not doing enough. You need to do more. You need to get more calls. She was quite blunt. And I remember this, and I was a bit like taken aback, and I was a bit, oh no, what am I going to do? And I just thought, well, I've got to do it. That was good for me. A little bit of a like, come on, you need to be working hard, you need to do more. And we were really successful. I did like 120% on my target that year. So it was a really good year. And I just started to had lots of conversations, lots of exposure to people that were more senior in the business. And I started to think like, oh, I'm capable of things. And I was having different conversations, and it was really interesting. But I still had a lot of like, confidence, like, and sort of low self-esteem that probably held me back quite a lot. And then one thing and another, when I had my first son, Dylan, I was obviously on like 12 months mat leave. And I sort of towards the end, I went back and they were like, I tell you what, we've got rid of the whole of your sales team while you were off.
Oh, wow.
And we want you to do the whole UK for $3,000 more a year. And I said, and at that point that meant I was on $33,000, which is ridiculous. And I was like, no. So I then was like, what am I going to do?
Sorry, when you say it was ridiculous, what do you mean? Not enough?
Not enough.
Okay.
Not enough. No, not for what they were asking me.
I just wanted to clarify
that.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous because they were asking me, a new mother, to basically cover the entire of the UK, to do a job 3 people used to do for that amount of money more. Now when I look back on that, I think ridiculous. So,
but Laura, some people would have done that, honestly. On the flip side of that, if you're struggling with confidence, right, you offer your on maternity, you know what it's like coming back off maternity anyway.
I think
so that takes a lot of strength from you to do that, to turn around and say no.
I think I probably didn't see it in that context at the time. And I think it's only now that I'm starting to sort of realise like that some of the things I do and say are not necessarily how everyone else would approach it. But I think it's always been bundled under my...
Do you see it now though?
Yeah, do you see it now?
Yeah.
Interestingly, I sort of began again after that. So I follow mum again. So she had left where I was working. They'd been taken over in the meantime. That's a whole other story. And it just changed the dynamic a lot. And at that point, she left. She stayed for a little while and did some SMT stuff, but then she left with another colleague and they set up Una Health in 2009. And I obviously did another like 4 or 5 years after that. It was called Alea then. And then when I left, she was like, look, I was like, I don't know what to do and I need to get a job. So she was like, you can have some work. So I entered Una Health. It's very much like just going in it as like a part-time kind of like, I'm coming back to work. What am I going to do? And I was thinking, do I completely change careers at this point? Because I always wanted to do something with my history degree. And I was like, do I change career? I don't want to be a rep anymore, so I don't want to be away from home all the time. And I was like, what do I do? So I thought, well, I'll just go back and work in the office at Una, and then that gives me some time to think about it. And I have never left.
How many years ago is that?
Well, Dylan's 12. So I went back when he was 1 and I started at Una. So I've been there a long time. And I think it evolved in a way that suited me, my sort of leadership trajectory. In that it's kind of evolved alongside Una evolving as a business. When I started, we were a tiny little business, didn't take ourselves seriously, didn't take the opportunity not in a negative way, but just, you know, classic kind of, we're a small business. That's it. Like we're an SME. That's it. Micro business probably at that point. And it wasn't until we went through COVID that we realised what we were capable of and our mentality shifted. And obviously we all know when COVID was, seared in our memory. And since then, we've just been on a real, complete journey. And I was given the opportunity just before that to get shares in the business. At that point, we were making no money. We were not making any profit. So it was like, you know, not like being handed to the, you know, it was just, do you want to come in at this point? And I was like, yeah, I will, because I think this is an opportunity and I think we can do more than we're doing. And this is at the point at which my mum, Fee, took over as managing director in PSC. So we had like a management buyout. And then we went through the COVID period, and then we basically the whole 5 or 6 years has been me and the business learning how to be more confident in ourselves and to have a completely different strategic approach, and then we've just grown in confidence. And I think that's gone hand in hand with me completely growing in confidence. Yeah. And, you know, the results have been amazing. But I think that it's like a bit of a circle. We've driven it, but it's also driven us. So we've had to respond, and I've had to look at things and go, because I was given leadership, and I think I made the mistake of thinking, well, I'm good at doing this, so I'll be a good leader. And I spent quite a bit of my leadership not getting it right, not doing a very good job of it. And then it's only when I started to realise that you aren't born with the skills to be a leader. You need to learn them, and you need to be kind to yourself, but you need to identify the skills that you need to build on. And I had to get out of the kind of negative thinking, well, I'm not good at this, and think, right, I know I can be good at it, but what do I need to do to get there? Yeah. And that's when I started talking to you, Liz. And also, you know, talking to lots of other people and putting myself in situations that would give me the skills. Yes. And that's kind of where I'm at. And obviously, I'm a director and still a shareholder now, but we're in a very different place than we were when I began. We've had a lot of success, and we are only going to have more success over the next sort of 12 to 18 months. Very exciting.
I know. I mean, when you've been sharing about how you're looking into 2026, I was fortunate enough to come and see you at Una last week, and you know, it's incredible because I was literally blown away by the size of the business.
Yep.
You took up the whole block.
Yes.
And I don't know, I hadn't got no expectations, but I wasn't expecting that. And everybody was so lovely, welcomed me from the moment I stepped into your business. It's nice to hear, isn't it? I'd like that if I was a business. Your people represent you, don't they?
They do.
But what a career from Kurt Geiger.
I know.
To where you are now.
I always laugh that I don't know how I've ended up in a scientific business.
With a history degree.
With a history degree. Never interested in science whatsoever in school. And this is why I'm so passionate, and I spend a lot of time kind of talking to people about education and how, and we obviously work with Become, who are our charity partner, and it's focused on children in care, but a lot of what they do is about talking to children about like the opportunities in the STEM career. And I think because science was taught to me in a very specific way, I hated it. I didn't like it. I didn't feel like I was good at it. But it's because you're only taught a small little tiny bit of science, and you're taught kind of all the theory and all the academic side of it, and you're not taught about the application and the interesting things that come out and how wide and big the scientific industry is. And within the scientific industry, there are also creative jobs. A huge amount of what I do on a day-to-day basis is creative, because I take up a lot of the marketing reins. And I think people think that it's really going to be dry and boring, but a lot of what we do at Uno is the opposite of dry and boring. It's really exciting and interesting, but also it's got the benefit of being in a really stable industry. Healthcare industry is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. It's just growing, at a rate of knots, and I think what you want is a balance between stability and feeling like fulfilled and this is a good job, and that is what the scientific industry gives you.
Very exciting.
Yeah,
very exciting.
Yeah.
You touched on there a couple of things. Honestly, this is brilliant. I've got loads of questions. So, first one, you talked about you got your history degree, you didn't know what you were going to do, and it feels like along the way you've just been given opportunities and you said yes.
Yes. I would say that's exactly it.
Theme there, isn't there?
Yeah.
But then you talk about low confidence.
It's interesting, isn't it? I think a lot of my low confidence is more personal.
Okay.
And I think my professional confidence has been ahead of my personal confidence. But people, I think, underestimate how linked they are. And how, in order to really make the big steps, you need to be personally more confident. And I've had to work on that. And I think I've always kind of hidden myself behind a bit of a thing of I'm not a confident person. But I think I'm not a confident person in some situations, not all situations, in some. And I think that's a really important distinction. I'm not low confident at work. I am in some little bits of it, like in front of the camera. This is, if you just said to me I'd have done this 12 to 18 months ago, I would have been like, no.
You're natural.
But I think what I would say, going back to your original point, is take opportunity as like the absolute mantra that we have at Una, that I've had, that if I reflect, and I've not really thought about it, it's not been conscious. But at Una, that is a huge thing for us. And one of the things people can struggle with a little bit is very often we say yes to things that other people might not say yes to. But that's based on our experience and what we know will work for Una. And I think how we've been successful is about being flexible and taking the opportunities. As a distributor, that is the way that it goes. You don't know what you're going to be given, what someone's going to approach you with. So our mantra is be open to it, consider it, and then think about, I guess we've become more strategic, definitely, over it. We used to be a bit more scattergun. But it's definitely about taking opportunities when they present themselves.
What would you say then? Somebody's watching this now who either wants to be a leader or has just become a leader. What advice would you give them? Because you talked about sometimes, you fall into leadership and you don't have those skills. So now you've got that hindsight, what would you say to them? What advice would you give them?
With hindsight, I would have been working on these skills before I became a leader. So I would have gone into it prepared and ready to be a leader. It is difficult because you don't know you're ever going to get given that. But I think if you're at that position in your life where you're very good at your job and you think, well, the next step for me is leadership and I really want it, is to invest in yourself. It's like anything you ever say, like eat well, go to the gym, do all these things, invest in yourself. This is the same principle, like put the effort into. I've always been the kind of person who's interested in doing more and learning more and knowing more. So this is just another version of that. What can I do differently to make myself a better leader? How can I be better at communicating? And I used to hide behind, I am not good at that. And now I've changed a little more to be, I'm not as good at that. What can I do about it?
Love that.
Which is also, I think, and I've seen this right across my life generally. It's funny how much it influences, but it's like going to the gym. Like, I never thought I'd push 125 kilograms on the sled, but you don't
just drop that one in.
Just drop that one in. I've been waiting to drop that one in.
Really?
But I did not start at 125. I started at about 60 and I couldn't push it. And I think it's like everything. I think the more open and curious you are, the better off you're going to be in life about everything. And I think that applies to absolutely everything. Children, how we like educate people, what we do, you know, if you approach everything with an open mindset and you think, this is not personal. It's just about me being a bit better at something at work. Like, this isn't a criticism. And I think we all benefit from being more like that. And I used to take things much more personally. And now I've been able to step back and say, this is just another exciting thing I can learn how to do.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about it a lot. You know, I don't know where Una's going to go. And that used to really frighten me. But now, rather than trying to focus on something I can't control, I think about, well, how can I develop myself so that when the time comes that perhaps I've got to do something new, I've got so much opportunity in front of me because I've got a really good network. I've got all these different soft skills I can use. So I think that's really, you know, something I would say is really important to focus on, is just invest in yourself and build those skills. And then also at the same time, people will notice you doing that. And then you'll make yourself more available because leaders will look at you and go, well, I know that person could do it. I'm going to ask them to do it.
Yeah.
And
people
put your
do
time
notice.
In that. Yeah, they
do notice a change. I know when I went out to San Diego, I had no thoughts of being a coach. I went out to High Performance Academy just for my own personal development because I was tired of struggling and feeling rubbish about myself. And I went out. Now, I have to give you the picture. This is a girl who was born in Longton, Stoke-on-Trent. Really wasn't around people that said, oh, you can do anything you want to in life. It was very much working class, and it was like, you go to work, you come home from work, you have your tea, you go bed, and that was it. So I wasn't being brought up in an environment with there was opportunities and choices. So I'm taking this younger version of me out to San Diego. Like, what? That doesn't happen. But when I got back, I remember phoning the girls and saying, I can't come all this way for not to change things.
Yeah,
and
100%.
A couple of things you said there was people started to notice the difference in me.
Yes.
I was getting results.
Yeah.
But it was small changes.
Yeah.
Like you said about your weights, you started at 60K.
Yeah, it's a little bit at a time. Like, no one is expecting you to be completely different overnight.
Yeah.
But I think you do notice when people change. But I think it's interesting what you said there, because we see quite a lot of that, obviously being based in Stoke-on-Trent. So many people come to our business kept low by the environment that they've been brought up in. And I really am passionate about the benefit of being in places and finding your little raw diamonds in places like Stoke-on-Trent, and that we can't continue to have a brain drain to places. We need to invest in the people in the place that they live and give them the confidence and the tools to say, I can be ambitious if I want to be. Yeah. I didn't come from that same background as you. I didn't come from any kind of like my grandparents were working class and all that kind of thing. But my gran specifically was a very big inspiration for me. She held very like senior jobs and, you know, was way ahead of her time in the way she approached that and the way she thought about that. So I've been lucky enough to have that influence. I think my kind of barriers came a lot to do with like my own personal like self-esteem, and I think my looks and things like that. And I've been trying to shake that off for 20 years. And I think when you've been told certain things as a child, when you've been treated in a certain way, for whatever reason it is, whether it's just lack of ambition or it's like you've been bullied or you've been told you're never going to amount to something because you don't have the face for it, it takes a long time to come back from that. And that's why I'm also really passionate that we're really trying to combat that in young children and girls and things at a young age, is that those things, their words don't mean anything to you. And I wish I'd known that sooner, because I think maybe it's a bit of a natural thing that happens when you get a bit older because the focus isn't on you as much. But I do feel like once I turned 40 last year, like it was as if I just woke up from it and I was like, well, maybe it's getting older and realising like an important people dying and different things makes you think, I've only got one life.
Yeah.
Don't want to look back on it and think, I didn't do all these things. I don't want to think, well, I give it my best shot.
Yeah.
But it does have a big impact. The way you start out in life really can impact like what you think you're capable of.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I always think, and again, this is why I love the podcast, because I want to just show real life people like yourself and just give people options and choices.
Yeah.
And I remember what turned it around for me was hearing good days will come again. Because sometimes you do forget about the good days. And you talked about COVID, and I mean, it'd be interesting to just give us a snapshot of how you and the business had to, how did it impact you? Because it seems like that was a turning point for you and the business.
It was a turning point for us, and I'm always conscious that there is a certain narrative around businesses that did well in COVID. But I want to completely close this by saying we were a business in microbiology, and we had all the contacts. We were in the right place at the right time. These things happen. We were a tiny business. In 2019, we had 9 people. And we were turning over £1 million. We were making no money. And basically what happened was we have had the opportunity to support the government's REACT study, which at the time was the biggest seroprevalence study in the world. And we had to do this huge piece of work overnight. So we had to, this is not going to mean anything to anyone, but we had to work with the MHRA to get a derogation for a test, to turn it from a professional use test to a self-test so they could send it out to do everybody's antibody status at home. They sent out 200,000 tests from Imperial College and the REACT study to sort of look at the antibody status of everybody across the UK. And it was our test, and we did the work and we did all the behind the scenes on that to deliver it. And it was absolutely massive for us as a business. Not only because, it gave us opportunity to invest in the business, which we did. And I think compared to maybe other businesses that have done well, one of the big things is like we paid off our investment debts as we started off as a business. There was obviously a certain amount of dividends for people, but we invested it back into the business by and large. And I think it meant that we had that platform then of self-confidence. We delivered this. We can do anything if we can do that. Yeah. But personally speaking, and I think for a lot of the S&T, it was very, very stressful because anyone that was in that ecosystem at the time, the pressure was ridiculous. We weren't used to that. We were talking to the Cabinet Office and we were this tiny little business that no one paid any attention to. Overnight, we're having all these conversations. This is really, really stressful time. Yeah. I also had a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old, 7-year-olds at home, homeschooling. We didn't have furlough. I was working 1 week from the office, working the other week at home. My husband, who works at QIAGEN in the same industry, was doing the same. So we were working the whole time.
Oh, wow.
So I almost had a little breakdown at the end of 2020 and I was having palpitations and I was really struggling because the stress and the pressure of trying to juggle everything all the time was a lot.
How did you manage that then?
It took me a while. It took me about 6 months, I think, to think I've got to do something about this. I thought, at one point, genuinely thought I was having a heart attack because the palpitations were so severe. And I just made a lot of lifestyle changes. I became more conscious of it and I spoke to people and I got, like I would do with anything that we've talked about, I found out what to do. I took control of it.
Yeah.
And I think anyone who's been in that environment and been through that kind of stress, you feel like you'll never get back out of it. I remember having panic attacks and thinking, I am never going to feel normal again. But that's the brain tricking you and making you think that's what it's going to be like. And you just have to go back to square. You have to get some support. You have to go back to square one and think, okay, how can I mitigate this? How can I learn from that? And it's been a journey, but I'm in a much better, 1,000% better now. And I still get support. I still, at time to time, speak to a counsellor. I still have all my techniques in place. I've got an open situation with my husband. He knows what to look for in me if he thinks I'm struggling. And I'm just better at putting boundaries up for myself as well. Actually, I can't take that on, or I can't do this. I can't take all this stress and things.
Laura, I can't thank you enough for sharing and being so open and vulnerable on the podcast, because, I think I really do want to break down the barriers. We talked about this before we started about leaders are human.
Yep.
And it's fantastic to know and to hear your advice really as well to other people, that you set boundaries, but you're more than happy to go and seek help.
Yeah, very important to be open about that, I think. And I think there is a problem with that, with everyone's mental health and different things. And I think we need to say when we're struggling, and we need to be open about what we do in those circumstances. And I think the number one thing for anyone in anything they're ever doing is good mental health.
Yeah, definitely.
That is the root of everything, in my opinion, because once you have that in place, then you can do all the other things. But if you don't have that right, it's never going to feel good. And I think then it's also self-acceptance and all those other things that come with it. I think it's all come from me going through that experience. And I think that was probably the tipping point for me to start to turn everything personally and professionally around and do it differently than I had been doing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And you feel the benefits of it?
Yes, massively. Yeah, I do. I feel like I am in control more now. And I don't mean that in a kind of everything has to be controlled all the time. I just mean I have the ability to step back from things now in everything, in being a mum, in everything, and think, what does that person need from me now? I've got the mental strength to approach things in that way, and to be able to not take things as personally as I would have done. And this is all still a work in progress. You don't just wake up one day.
Very good point, yeah.
Never finish.
You never get
finishes.
to the end of that bloody rainbow, do you?
No, it's always there's always ups and downs, and there's always things where you thought, I thought I was doing really well, and then it's let's go back and let's put those things in place. But I would say that it's the foundation of everything. If you don't have that right, you're not going to deliver on the things you need to do as a person. And what is it that's important to you? We talk about this a lot, don't we, in coaching? You've got to prioritise what you think are the important things for you. And I think I needed a job as well, going back to kind of talking about this industry, where I felt a sense of fulfillment and I felt like I was making a difference. Very important to me. Just generally, that's a bit I get from my gran a little bit. Something I was doing was going to have an impact on someone else, in a soft way. And I think being in diagnostics, you really see that, the impact that different products and innovation and different things can come in. For example, working on a project with a device that will help women with chronic UTIs. And, the impact of chronic UTIs, for women it's insane. And we're still not very good at that, at treating it and managing it for women. So being a part of just a small part of that is important to me. So I think what you seek in value is really important as well. And that goes for me in my mental health. Everything becomes easier if I feel like what I'm doing is having some kind of benefit to someone else as well.
Yeah. You've got to feel. I remember always saying to my manager when I was in the corporate world, and we'd have a one-to-one, and he'd always say, well, what does your career path look like? What's the next thing for you? And I honestly didn't know. And all I kept coming back to was I wanted to make a difference and I wanted to add value. And obviously that, fast forward my career and obviously the coaching, I feel as if I'm, I am doing that and I am aligned to my values, which is really important no matter what your role is. So as you said, we have worked together.
We have.
You've been on we're still working together.
Yes, we are.
On the high performance coaching program. What would you say has been the biggest benefits for you so far from the program, whether it be in your leadership role or life? What would you say?
A little bit of the confidence piece, but I would be honest and say I think that was coming anyway. But for me, it's the communication, 100%. I would say that I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about the impact of me and my communication on other people. And I don't think it's that I walked in and I was deliberately trying to be difficult to everyone. I just didn't think, I'm one of the big bosses. And I hate thinking about that all the time. We talked about this the other day, didn't we? And it's funny because when people go, yeah, but you're the big boss, I think, oh my God, no, I'm just like an ordinary person, please. But that is the reality for a lot of people. I walk in the room and it makes people feel a certain way, whether I am a happy and friendly and approachable person or not. And I think it's taking a step back and thinking, how can I deliver this in a way that makes them feel safe, that delivers what I want to say, and creates this environment where people feel that they can talk to me and that we can have open and honest conversations, but that, feedback can happen and can go both ways. So I think that has been a real eye-opener for me, because I would say that one of the things I think as well, this is, I guess, for people on the leadership journey, is once you hit the top, one of the things I found difficult is, where am I going to get upskilled from now? Because I'm right at the top. And I feel like I've got everything I'm going to get out of the people in Una. So working with you as a coach has really been good for me in that way, because I needed, and also like meeting other people and building a network, I needed to learn from new people in different environments, or maybe at different steps of leadership or different stages of leadership, so that I was getting something new.
Yeah.
And I think the communication piece is not something that we've ever really focused on at Una, and it's not something that I think we've got like inherently. I think we've got a couple of people who are good at it, but I think that was the big piece that has really kind of not shocked me, I guess, but has sort of stopped me in my tracks and made me think, okay, I can do this better.
Yeah.
And I think it's already sort of having dividends for me, in that it's allowing me to give feedback, which I always really struggled with giving constructive feedback. And it's allowed me to do that because if you frame it right, and you people more often than not want constructive feedback, right? They want to develop in the same way that we want to develop. So it's about being able to deliver that. But also I think it's allowed me to get the best out of people, and to see actually how much of this is what they need versus what I think they need, if you see what I'm saying. Big difference. Yeah. And listening to them open and giving them space and time to do their job, I think, and that has been really good part of what we've done together, and really sort of transformative for me. And I think we've had such a strong second half of the year in the business, and a lot of that is because we've got the right people in the right place at the right time. But we've also learned as leaders to step back and give some trust out and to allow that to happen. But I think that is also about communication, because it's about setting what you want from them, setting fair objectives, and then saying, now you've got a period of time in which I'm going to step back and I want you to deliver it, and then come back and talk to me about it. Yeah. And I think those things and having that kind of approach to it is what I've really been building on in your program as well. Yeah.
Honestly, I am so lucky, because when I get to work with the most incredible leaders, and it inspires me. I think what a bit selfish for me, but what I really enjoy about my part in this is being able to point out your strengths, because I do think as a leader, especially at your level, who's giving you great feedback.
Yes, we've talked about this a lot, haven't we?
Yeah. And for me, my programme is about pulling out your strengths. And I never say weaknesses. It's opportunities for growth.
Exactly.
I do not like that word, because for me, when I hear
can be good at everything on their own. Right?
It's just something for me. It triggers me. It triggers me, because it's weaknesses. It has been in leadership seen as previously, you're not good at your job.
No.
Right? And I think... And I don't tell you what else I don't like. Let's have a room 101 in leadership where they do the praise sandwich. So like you'll get feedback and you'll go, oh, you did such a good job
and
with
then
this.
You know what's coming next.
And then exactly, it's like, no, but just going back anyway, that was me room 101 and you've indulged me there. I don't think senior leaders get enough recognition. Yes. I think there's an expectation. Well, you're senior, you don't need it, but we all need it, right? Of course
we do. And I only have to look at my second born, who is a positive praise prince. He loves positive praise, and he is also me in a small boy form. And I look at him and think, oh, like, I am that person. I do need positive praise. And I used to be like, oh, I shouldn't need that. Like, I'm a grown-up. Like, I shouldn't need to be told I'm doing a good job, right? And then I didn't realise until we did the programme again how much I actually do need positive praise. And actually, I've pushed back a little bit on that with our board and obviously, like, with RMD, and said, I do need that. I need to know from you when I've done a good job, because nobody is an island. Everybody needs to.
You've not told me that. I don't think you shared that with me up until now. that you've pushed back on at the board?
Yeah, I've said, and I've started to get it. I've said, like, I don't feel like ever there's any recognition for the work we're doing. And I find that really difficult. We don't often meet as a board because I want to be able to go and share what we're doing really well, but there's nowhere for me to put it.
Yeah.
And I think I want that, but I also want the response. And I think some people think, oh, it's just because you want to feed your ego a little bit. And yeah, it is a little bit. Like, I'll be honest, it is for everyone. Don't lie about it. But it's also getting that response because you can build on that. Like, someone will then come back and say, but this is really, really good. What about if we did that?
Exactly.
And I feed off that. I'm a collaborative person.
Yeah.
So if I feel isolated as well, that's my other really difficult part. If I feel like I'm sat at the top of my own, I hate that. But it's doing it in the right way. So it's not going back and inserting yourself into things you shouldn't be doing in your day job, but it's about creating good opportunities for collaboration.
Yeah.
Because you need to know what you need as a person as well.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. My, like, opposite, she's like my wife at work, but she is Sarah. We are yin and yang, and that's why we work so well together, because she is all of the things I'm not, details, like focus in that way that she needs to be. She's like thinking about the granularity. She's the real people person out of the two of us. She's brilliant at all of those things, and we complement each other so well. But she, interestingly, also needs opposite things from me. So she's not as much of a like positive praise person as me. She is very much a little bit more, she won't be cross with me saying this, probably a bit more like financially motivated and all those kind of things. I am financially motivated, but it's not just that for me.
Yeah.
I like to feel like valued as well. So I think, it's really interesting dynamic and it works really well. But that's about identifying who you are, and also that self-awareness is important for leadership as well. What kind of leader are you going to be? What speaks to your strengths? Don't try and be someone else. I couldn't possibly be Sarah if I tried. I couldn't do it because it's not in me to do it. I haven't got those skills. So don't do that. Don't be someone else. Be who you are. I am a collaborator. I am an open person. I want to talk to people all the time about things. I don't want to block my calendar out all week to manage my tasks. That's not the right way for me. I've got a different way of managing it. And I think that you have to be also, you see all these things, don't you, on like Instagram or stuff. This is how you should do this. And it really annoys me because I'm like, no, you know how you should do it. Have confidence.
100%. And that's key for me, that everybody, even though the curriculum is the same, I tailor it to your needs.
Yeah.
Because there's no point me talking to you about something that's just not going to add benefit.
No.
And I don't want to waste that time. That hour is very precious for you.
Yeah.
A busy leader, busy life with the family and all of that. There's got to be a return on investment for you. So it is all tailored so that you gain the results.
Yeah.
It's interesting you said about counselling. What would you say the difference between counselling and coaching is now you've had the benefits of the two?
I think that counselling is about probably a lot more rooted in the past, for me anyway. It's very much about coming to terms with your life experience, what happened to you, processing it appropriately, and then putting things in place to mean that they don't have the impact on you that they've had. That is definitely my experience. There's also a little bit of a sense of like validation. For me anyway, like the things that I've been through, I think I always underplayed. And I don't believe in victimhood. I don't want to be a victim. But having them validated as actually having been something really difficult to go through as a child has helped me to sort of say, okay, like I did have something I had to work through and it's taken me a bit of time. And if I had to do it, that's not a bad thing because it was hard. So I do think that's how I would and I think it's very much about learning how your mind works, how your triggers, how you cope with those things, techniques and disciplines to put into place for yourself. Whereas I think coaching is about, or my experience of it is about like an audit. Where are you now? Like, where do you want to be and how are you going to get there? And then working on the skills. So there is a bit of similarity, I think, but it's very much forward thinking. It's like, what are we going to do to get there? What are your and actually making you crystallize your goals. It's very much goal orientated, I would say, the coaching. Whereas I think counselling is just about being happy where you are now and, just getting yourself into a position where you You've got everything as good as you can be. One really important thing I would say about counselling, which I think is a bit of a misconception, and I've had to learn it, is you will never get rid of what happened. It'll never go. You'll never forget about it. And I always thought I never want to have to think about these things again. But like, as he's been pointing out to me on this journey, you cannot undo any of it. You have to learn how to accept it and how to handle it for yourself. And I think that is a really big observation. So even if you can do one little thing and maybe you don't have the means or the opportunity to go and have counselling, it's just like you cannot bury it and forget about it. You've got to learn how to live with it. And I think it's very much focused on that. And like I said, like counselling is, for me, much more future driven, and it's much more about like, who do you want to be in 2 years' time? How are you going to get there? What are the skills? And putting that plan into place. That's how I have felt.
That's interesting. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Because I think also as a leader, the majority of leaders that come to me, they're wanting to get to a better place.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
And they recognise the programme as giving them that clarity, like you said, that plan, but the skills. That's what's missing. And that's why I'm so proud of the programme, because I truly believe it does give skills. And I'm constantly evolving and trying to think, right, what else do I need to be bringing to that? But I think in the past, I've gone down the wrong path of going, when I was a leader, of going for counselling, because that comparison, that self-doubt came in.
Yeah.
And so I would naturally just think, well, I need to go see a counsellor.
Yeah.
But actually, back in the time when we're talking 2018, coaching wasn't something that was even mentioned.
Yeah.
Coaching at that point, all I knew about coaching was something that they used in the corporate world when somebody was underperforming on the phones. We'll bring the quality assurance team in and we'll work with them and we're going to coach them to this.
So it had real negative connotations for you.
That's the only time I'd ever heard of coaching. And I just wish I'd have heard of coaching so many years ago, because I used to go for therapy. I used to go to the counselling, feel great for maybe 1 or 2 weeks. Yeah. And then the root cause would still be there, because I wasn't getting the new skills that I needed. Yeah,
I think it does. I think I've been really lucky in that it's been, because I've been doing them almost a bit side by side, I think it's really worked for me as a person and with the things I'm dealing, because obviously everyone's going for different reasons. You know, there were some things I had to work through. But I think what I will say as well is that I do think there is a sense of validation with the coaching as well. I do think there is very much like, I do come out of the sessions with you and feel like, yeah, I'm really good at this. Like, not like,
but you like, actually are. I would not. There's no point me like praising you
if it's not true.
If it's because you're not going to buy into it, are you?
I think for somebody who has like sort of struggled with low self-worth and different things, I think having the genuine feedback like that and that positive feedback, but based on like the reality, is actually really important, because you need to like, I do need that support to feel like I can progress. And I think I'll get to a place where it's more self-driven. But I think in the early days, you do need that support system to be like, you're in the right place, you're doing the right things. We just need to do X, Y, and Z to get you there. And I think it like you said, it's interesting, because what everyone sees like development needs as a negative, but it's just, like you said, it's absolutely an opportunity. But the way we used to deliver that was always in the negative, wasn't it? It was like, you're not doing very well at this is like a bad thing. You know, and there are times when you have to put people on these things and it is a negative, right? That does happen, that's business. But I think what's good is the reframing of it, is to be like, actually, this is an opportunity for us. This is an opportunity for us to improve you and make you even more of an asset to the business, and make you someone that's even more, you know, valuable to the business. And I think that's something that this has also taught me, and that everybody needs that. They need that little bubble of feeling like someone has got their back and believes in them, but it's also going to be the person that says, but we can do this better. And it all comes from the same person. And again, going back to what I said about negative feedback, I hate giving negative feedback, because I thought people will feel personally about me, because people will not like me for doing it. And that was all part of my self-worth thing that I had to deal with. But it was also part of me realising it's not a bad thing to get feedback. It's not a bad thing to have someone tell you, you do this and you could be even better.
Yeah,
that's
definitely
a good thing.
Do you know what is a bad thing? Not giving feedback at all.
Yeah. And we've definitely been that business. And I really want people to understand that you can be a business and then you can turn it completely on its head and do something different. Like, just because you've done things not as well as you could do, there's always opportunity to do better.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, we are not perfect by any means. We've got lots of things wrong over the time that I've worked there. You know, and I wish I could go back and change those things. But again, it's about not beating yourself and just thinking, what will we do the next time better?
Yeah.
What will we implement? You know, and I think that's important as well, because going back to what we were originally speaking to, there isn't always a lot of support for leadership in terms of like, you're expected to just be perfect all the time, to not have any personal feelings about anything ever, to take everybody else's baggage and just on top of yours, you're dealing with, and to be fine about it.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, it's about being human in most circumstances. It's about giving the positives, not in the sandwich. We're getting rid of the praise sandwich.
That's gone into room
It's giving
101.
the positives, but it's also giving those opportunities for improvement and saying, I have, and also it's a good thing. I know you can do this. Let's get there.
I was thinking, it's a really interesting point, and I was thinking the other day of all the managers that have ever believed in me.
Yeah.
Because we tend to focus on the managers that haven't believed in us and create those gremlins, because I'm sure you've had them, I've definitely had them. And sometimes if I'm tired, or say if I haven't got something quite right, that I'll be triggered. I'll be honest.
That's exactly how I am.
You know, if I've not had much sleep, or I've just had a week of either rejection or hitting brick walls, or technology's failed me yet again, whatever the pressure is, those limiting beliefs will come back. And it's about, like you said earlier, about managing them. But then I actually thought to myself the other day, well, who are the managers that believed in me?
Turn it on its head. Very important.
Yeah.
Your brain is wired to focus more on the negatives. So you have to know, what you need to understand is the psychology of it and the neurology of your brain and how it works. The reason why social media is so focused on negative is because that's what we look for.
Yeah.
It's a survival technique. So you have to sort of fight that a little bit. And one of the best tips I heard recently was, every time something good happens, or you get good feedback, or create a little book and write it down. And every time you get in the negative spiral, look at it and remind yourself. And I think this is absolutely, I can relate to this. We've had many employees at Una, and some of them have been really difficult, and it has not gone well. And it, you know, we probably could have done a bit better, but also they were just difficult, right? In some cases. And I would really focus on those and think, oh, you know, they left, or they were unhappy, or what have I done wrong? And I'd be, you know, I'd really get in a spiral about that. But now what I do is I think about all of the people who we have promoted, who have stayed, who have done really well, who love working at Una Health. And I think that's all that you can do, is put those techniques in place to think, actually, yes, I might feel a little bit down about this, but think about all these other brilliant things. So we've got an endless supply of people at Una who we have internally promoted, who we have brought in and given more responsibility, who are a really important part of the business and are an example of when we've got it right. And I think it's like anything. If you really struggle with something, make that list of things you've done really well over times you've got it right.
Exactly.
And refer to that when you feel down.
100%. That's why I flipped it. Because I just thought it isn't worth the time and energy. Another thing I do, I don't think I've shared this with you before, but it really works for me, is I've left myself a WhatsApp message.
Really?
Yeah, the best version of me. So it's like a pep talk ready there.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Really good.
I did it in one take. And I've played it to my daughters and my partner, and they're like, have you rehearsed this? And I was like, no, I haven't. But I just thought, you get so distracted and your attention's pulled away that for me, it works. I am very visual and audio. Obviously, why I've got a podcast. But because some people do it in the form of a letter. Yeah. What would you say to the best version of you if they're struggling? Yeah. Or what would you say to the younger version of you? Because we all carry that inner child.
Yes, we do.
And my inner child massively comes to the forefront when I'm triggered and I'm tired. And,
Same.
And then I have to say to her, it's okay. Yeah. We've got this. We'll figure it out. Yeah. It's going to be all right. But I find this WhatsApp message that I play.
Oh, okay.
When I need to. In fact, when I first did it, I played it a lot. and then it's now, I don't, like 2 or 3
Probably
weeks,
because
a month.
you're sort of playing it.
I think I've embedded it. Yeah, because I am an NLP practitioner. So the NLP, I've obviously anchored that as something.
Like a habit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I know.
I probably wouldn't want to listen to a voice note myself.
But the thing is, you've got to find what works for you, haven't
That's
you?
what I was going to say. It's a really good idea. And I think I think I would say I'm trying to apply more of this to more of what I'm doing, but I would say the most immediate place I've sort of done that is with my youngest son, who has quite like big emotional outbursts. And I think I was responding to that with my inner child, who is a big emotional outburster. Oh no, he's the same as me. And now I go into that and I think the best thing you can do for him and the best thing you can do for yourself in this situation is stay calm. Stay calm, give him some time. You know what to do, you know what will work for him. If you go down the route of responding with emotion, this is only going to get worse.
Yeah.
But it's just giving yourself that like 10-second, 30-second like little prompt in your head, like you could react like that, but think what it will mean if you don't.
Yeah.
And think what you'll be given. And it's almost like unpicking, sort of it's stopping it in its tracks for this generation, isn't it? And thinking, actually, like I want him to learn how to be calmer and I want him to learn how to manage his emotions. So I need to manage them in front of him so he sees that happening.
Yes.
But I think that's also applicable at work. And I think one of the things, I am quite an emotional person and I do lead with my emotions, and that's a good thing. But sometimes it gets in the way of me being the best version of myself. And an interesting example of that is like that I had recently, where I was hit with something which I wasn't really expecting. At the time, I wasn't expecting it. I'm not going to get into specifics, but basically there was a little bit of an emotional kind of tete-a-tete, I suppose, between me. And then I, after the fact, wrote it down in an email and sort of clarified what I meant and clarified that I wasn't specifically criticizing. I just wanted them to see it from my perspective, wanted to understand the work I'd put in and why I felt really passionate about this. And that worked so well. And I got a really great response to that. And I thought, next time, what I'm going to do is say, I cannot give you a response right now because I feel like I need some time to think this through and calm down.
Yeah.
And I think, and then writing it down in that way, because we're both quite emotional people, the person I was talking to, it allowed us to just calm ourselves down
and process it,
give a professional response.
Yeah.
And I think you need to understand like the times in which the qualities that make you good will also maybe not be in your favor, and how to like manage those.
Yeah.
So I think that's something I've definitely, I'm definitely working on as the next kind of thing. It's like how to harness the good things about being emotionally led, and how to work on the negative, because there's always a yin and yang to parts of personality. Like, you know, you need to be able to allow yourself time to process.
Definitely.
And you need to have the bravery to say, because it's hard in the moment to be like, I can't give you a response. Even when people are like, I need a response. Even if it's half an hour, I just need half an hour. Give me some time.
Yeah.
It works wonders in pretty much every walk of life as well. I just need some time.
Good for you. I love that. So what would you say about posting on LinkedIn?
Do it. Stop being scared.
Okay. Love that. What do you do to have fun in leadership?
I'll be true to yourself. Simple little techniques like food and drink in our meetings sometimes. So we don't do it all the time because, we're a health company. But like we'll say, you know what, this week we're all going to have a Diet Coke break. We have a little before the podcast, for example, we had a chat and just got all our funny stuff off our chests for a bit before. Remembered that we all get on and have little chats and try and make it. I think that's important. Try and go in like really positive and happy in the way that you want people to behave to you. I think keep the fun, and just allow it. I think the big thing for businesses, a little bit of fun now and again is okay.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to bring the fun.
Yeah.
And what would you say to somebody thinking about having coaching?
I would say it is the best investment you'll ever put in yourself if you're really serious about being a leader. If you really want to be seen as impactful by other people and stop thinking about what you want and what you think, then do the coaching, because it will make a massive difference to how other people see you, especially if you're at the beginning and you want to be a leader. Mm-hmm. I would say it will completely change people's mindset on you.
So, Laura, thank you so much. Oh, my God. We have covered so much, from Kurt Geiger all the way through to commercial director. Thank you so much for sharing, being vulnerable, being very honest. What an incredible career. I can't wait to see what 2026 brings for you and the business. And thank you again for joining us on the Leading Role podcast.
No problem. Thanks, Liz.
It'd be brilliant if you liked the episode. If you could leave a review, that would really help my channel out. And I will see you next time.